but it just depends on the person. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. Have this set to say 5, 6, or 5, 6, 7. That's what I would do, and then so you can quickly access all of these. And then you set your units, set them over to 1. Another thing is, I see you're building command center right here. Let me know why you decided to build your command center right here. This seems like kind of an awkward place unless you plan to float it over here. Although this wouldn't be the best place to build your first expo. You always want to build your first expo unless you're trying to hide it. Like maybe if you want to build an expo and hide it over here, then yes, that's fine. Just hoping my opponent's not going to see it and they think I'm playing off one base. You can do that sometimes, but if you were to do that, I would build the expo back here and fly it over here. But if you're gonna build the expo, and you always want to expand to your natural expansion if you're not gonna like hide it in a far expo like over here. So what you'd want to be building, I'd be building that expo right around this area, and if you can't fit there, right around here. That way, when you're done, you can lift off and just plant it right into here. You definitely don't want to build your expo here, because if you was to bring some units up and attack that expo, you would then have to come all the way around just to get up to defend it. So you definitely, this is the best. You always want to expand at your natural expansion, because if that was the case, you could bring, if he brought his units up, you could bring your units out to defend against him. So always build your expo here, and once you build it, get an orbital command and then lift it off and lift up and plant it down after you get your orbital command. Excuse me. So if we take a look at harvesters income, you have 21 harvesters, which is alright for this game, but this late in the you want to make sure you keep producing harvesters. A lot of times I've seen lower level players, what they do after a certain amount, they stop producing harvesters, and you want to make sure you're constantly producing. You have more harvesters than them, or than your opponent, so that is a good thing, but just make sure you keep on top of producing the harvesters. And then right now you are set out these 3. Now you're just setting up 3 barracks. Although my main question would be, why would you be setting up the barracks now? These are things you should have been setting up earlier, because you're just getting a Banshee out now, which this Banshee is way too late in the game at 8 minutes. If you're going to try and go with a Banshee, you need to get this Banshee out more around like 6 minutes, not 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's just going to be way too late. And again, Banshees against Terran aren't always the best. They're good if you want to do a little bit of harassing, but if that's the case, you want to get that Banshee out, and then you want to either get some Sea Shanks out, which you apparently are not, or you should have been putting out a couple barracks and having Marines and Marauders being pumped from the start. And again, you definitely want to be scouting. I can't emphasize enough how much you want to scout your opponent. So now you're finally seeing he's dropping in on you right now. And basically there's nothing you can do here once he's dropped in. What you have to do when he drops in is pull all your guys out, which the problem is right now you don't have very many units for this late in game. You need to have a lot more units. Whether it would have been, if you would have had a Sea Shank where you could have put right up here to defend against these guys, because like I was saying earlier, for a long time you just had the factory sitting there where you could have built a tech lab and then built a Sea Shank while you're waiting for your starport. And then what you could have done also is or had multiple barracks, and if that was the case, if you had 3 barracks up from the start, you'd probably have 3 to 4 times the amount of units. And what you would want to do, you'd stim pack your units up, you get them all up in a group, and then you go right outside the range, so you get right around this area, stim pack them up, run in and focus fire these Sea Shanks down. You hit T, run and click on the Sea Shanks and have them kill the Sea Shank, and then have them kill that next Sea Shank and have them finish off their Marines. That's the only way you can stop against the Sea Shanks, is with stim pack. You just have to stim pack them up, run and hit them. You are getting this Banshee out, but again, it's just too late for that Banshee. You can also, what you can do, the only way you can defend, you could have possibly defended against this since you didn't have barely any units. You then have to, what you have to do, you have to highlight all your SCVs, click, and send them right in at Sea Shanks. And while you do that, then quickly highlight all your units, and then go focus the Sea Shanks down. And the entire point of that is to hope that the focus fire of your opponent's fire is attacking your SCVs, while you can then use your units to focus fire down the siege tanks and then attack the Marines. But by this, right now, you're just in a bad situation at this point. So you didn't lose this game at the end with the micro. You lost the game in the start by your build, by taking way too long to get to get your tech lab up. And you should have been producing some units with that factory. You don't want to just go straight into Banshees because of situations like this without scouting your opponent. Now, if you're scouting your opponent and you see that it's going to be fine going Banshees, that's fine, but you definitely should have either been producing a couple siege tanks, or you should have had a couple barracks put down early on in the game and start producing units from there. So, see how it plays out. This is what I'm saying. What happens here, you need to select all your units, SCVs, and pull them out to the side. You can't let them just so you bring them there, and what you did there, if you see the pathing, you let them, and you also, you forgot about one Marauder. Against something like this, you have to be very good and very precise. You can't let some of your units come around this way, some of your units come around this way. You need to gather them up right around here, right outside of the siege tank thing, stim them up, and then run in. Stim lasts for, I think, 20 seconds, I believe. Yes, 20 seconds. And, I'm pretty sure it lasts for, or maybe 10 seconds, but that's plenty of time. You stim them up for right around here, and then you just run in and take them out. As you can see, the siege tank's range is right around this area, so you get them grouped up here. What happened was you ran some of them this way, some of them ran this way because of the pathing, because you just clicked them towards there. And you have to bring the SCVs up all over at once too, because you don't have enough units to take on. Even if you go for these siege tanks, the splash damage and these Marines are just going to take the units out. And as you see right here, this is something you have to know. You shouldn't have set this Banshee yet. The Banshees have no hope against Marines unless you're cloaked. So what you want to do is, you should have waited. You had Cloak about to finish in 2 seconds. What you want to do is pull this, wait for this Banshee, and then you cloak him up, go and take out these Marines. You take out the Marines. Once the Marines are taken out, you then take out these siege tanks, and then maybe build another Banshee or two, and then start really producing some units out of these bunkers. And then you have to start, you drop down your mule and start producing your supply again. So, overall, I think the biggest thing you want to try and learn is being more productive with your buildings. You really want to make sure that you scout more often. That's a big thing, is just scouting as much as you can, whether it's a barracks or any type of scouting. You need the information of your opponent. You can't just go blind. I know you scouted in the beginning, but all you really saw was a barracks, and you saw one barracks with 2 gas, which that's telling you that he's going to be going factory with siege tanks, or he's going to be quickly going into air. So if you see that he's going to be quickly going into air, that's when you have to make your choice. He has 2 gas going with just 1 barracks. I'm going to drop down a couple more barracks, produce a bunch of guys, and do a nice timing attack and hit him and overwhelm him before he can really get out these siege tanks or Banshees or Vikings or anything like that. And then once you have that finish, once you have, or if you decide to go with the Vikings, or siege tanks, you need to start producing siege tanks out a lot more right away and really quickly. Because again, you just had a couple units where he had siege tanks and Marines, where you just had a couple Marauders Marines, and then we're starting to build the units where you really want to focus on not having that downtime. You had your factory just sitting there for a while, not producing anything, where I would have tossed on a tech lab and produced a couple siege tanks. Siege tanks in the Terran versus Terran matchup are very, very important. Siege tanks overall are just great units, so it's good to have siege tanks. If you're going to build the factory, definitely get the tech lab and get some siege tanks out. But it looked like you were trying to do a quick Banshee for harassing, but if that's the case, you want to try and get the Banshee out a lot quicker. And again, just scout, move the Expo up a little earlier, and I think if you would have scouted, I think you would have been in a lot better shape, because you could have seen that, maybe produce some more guys. If you have any questions, just send me an email with any questions you have about the replay or things that you can help. Alright, so again, just send me the email. It's shocksguide@gmail.com, and I will talk to you later.